Hi everybody! Today we're going to be working on this image here. This is by Rina Art and it's from her Etsy store. It really does have a long, kind of complicated name. I've got no hope at all of trying to pronounce it, so I will pop that down the bottom. That's what the illustration is actually called. And as you can see, she's based on a Day of the Dead kind of motif there. And this is one I did actually buy for last October, November kind of spooky season. I didn't actually get round to colouring, but she does fit quite well into the challenge I've decided to do today. And this is a challenge that I found on one of the Facebook groups I belong to online called Colour It In Challenges Group, which is a really great group. I do recommend it. If anybody wants to work on colouring challenges every month and post us up on the site, that is a great one to be going for. And the challenge this month is called Masquerade. So it's based around masks and stuff like that. So you could find a picture of someone wearing a masquerade mask or any kind of mask really, or someone whose face is completely covered in makeup, as we have here. She is completely made up in that Day of the Dead makeup there. Anything along the lines of a clown, a harlequin, masquerade mask, either someone wearing it or just a mask on its own. There is a colour palette given for the challenge for an extra bit of difficulty. And for an extra bit of difficulty, which is what I've gone for here, you could pick 2 colours from that colour palette and just work a 2-colour challenge. I might have been cheating a tiny little bit as I have gone ahead and printed this picture onto toned paper. And that was because I wanted this to have a kind of ancient artifact sort of feel to it. She reminded me of a lot of kind of Aztec statues and stuff like that. So I wanted to print it out onto this toned paper, just use the 2 colours. I do have a little bit of an idea to use the first brownish colour here, and I will show you what those colours are once we zoom in and actually get started. But to use the brownish goldy colour to colour most of the girl and all that kind of stuff to make her look as if she is a bit of an ancient artifact, a kind of Aztec statue sort of thing. And then bring in the red, maybe for the roses, maybe for a little bit on this kind of Day of the Dead makeup she's got going on, maybe for a couple of beads here and there. But that is the main idea that I've actually got. So I'm going to zoom us in, get started, show you what the colours are, and we'll go from there. Okay, I've zoomed us in there a little bit closer, and first of all, as I said, I will show you the colours I've actually picked to be using for this girl, and these are the actual Prismacolor numbers, or 2 of the actual Prismacolor numbers that are from that colour palette that was shown to us. These are Prismacolors PC 1028, that is the bronze colour, which I did actually have, and this one is the Tuscan Red PC 937, which I've already used quite a lot of, as you can see, so hopefully I'll have enough to finish this picture. But those 2 colours were on the colour palette, or one of the colour palettes that you could actually use to colour this picture, and I thought it might be quite nice to go for this idea I had of making the girl herself into a sort of statue or a carving, with the roses being the red. As usual, I don't really know if this is going to work or how this is going to work, so I'm just going to jump right in. And yeah, this bronze colour I'm going to use to colour most of the actual image, trying to leave maybe the colour of the paper coming through there. And this is where printing onto that brown tone paper will probably work against me, because I don't think I can really bring in any white to colour that skull there. That would be bringing in a few too many colours, I think. So I'm going to have to leave that with just the brown of the paper coming through. Maybe I should have stuck with white, but we'll see how we go. And I don't even know how well this brown will be showing up on this brown paper, to be honest with you. Thankfully, this picture does have a little bit of grayscale going on, so we might be able to get away with just shading with this bronze colour. I'm not sure if we'll be able to bring in the red. It's quite a dark red. I'm not sure if we'll be able to bring in that for some shadows into her hair. Might be interesting to see. But the idea is, yeah, just to use the 2 different colours to colour a picture that shows either a face covered with makeup, as we have here, or some sort of a mask type image. Either masks on their own or masks being worn. Masks of any kind, I think, were included, or any kind of full face makeup. Not just makeup for a night out with sparkly lipstick and that kind of stuff. It had to be a face fully covered with the makeup, as we have here, like a clown or harlequin, or as this one, Day of the Dead. It's slightly off season to be colouring Day of the Dead maybe, but yes, I do like to colour my spooky kind of Halloween Day of the Dead themed pictures most of the year, so yeah, I do apologise for being off season. But I've never been much of a seasonal colourist anyway. I do love Halloween though, so yeah, Halloween will be throughout the year for me. Christmas not so much, as we did see this year, I think. Only 1 or 2 Christmas pictures that we had going on. And those weren't your traditional kind of Christmas pictures. So yeah, not much of a seasonal colorist at all. And for this hair, I am following the strand lines that are actually there for us. This brown isn't showing up really super well on this paper, which is kind of what I feared there. I should have maybe gone for a lighter colour, but I was trying to stick to the actual Prismacolor colours that were written down for us there. I'm hoping this is even showing up on the camera. I don't even know if that will be showing up on the camera. But we do have a slightly more yellowy gold kind of colour going on her hair. Any areas of quite deep shadow I am just filling in, fully filling in with the pencil. And I am pressing quite hard there. I'm not entirely sure if we would be allowed to bring in a slightly darker colour to do some more shading on top here. Because usually for the challenge on this Facebook group, you are allowed to bring in tones and shades of the colour, lighter or darker versions, and usually I am cheeky and use my white gel pen, as you are allowed to use white and black in very, very small amounts. Maybe we can try softening our pressure on the pencil and just adding in a very, very light wash of this gold colour. That's something that I do like to try when I'm just doing a 1 colour, or in this case a 2 colour challenge. Varying the pressure, you can get different tones of the colour that you're using there. I've tried to build up as much as I can here just to test out the theory that's just occurred to me. Pressing as hard as I can, seeing how dark I can make the colour, and then keeping the pressure as light as possible to see how light I can make the colour. Again, working on this brown paper, probably not the best choice. Let's see if we can get any little variations in tone going here. Trying to layer a little bit and give some different variations in the tone. Seeing how dark I can make this pencil go in the shadows here. Prismacolors don't keep their point super well, so pressing hard and trying to get a lot of colour going on there might weigh down the pencils. And I do only have 1 of each of these pencils, so I don't want to go too crazy. I want to leave this shadow behind her earring here pretty dark. As we do have some grayscale going on here, let's try and use that to help us a bit as well. Show us where to go in with our extra pressure or extra layers of the pencil. Trying to leave that paper come through as a highlight. I think, yeah, that paper is working as a sort of highlight there. Not as much as white paper would. So again, yeah, maybe this was a bit of a bad decision, but we can use the white of that paper to come through and give us a little bit of a highlight. If I was feeling cheeky, I could come in with the white gel pen, but as this is a challenge just for 2 colours, I'm trying my best to keep it to the 2 colours and see what we can actually come up with just with 2 coloured pencils. Hopefully those colours are showing up pretty well. There we have got quite a variety of tones, even with just this 1 pencil, I think. I'm trying to leave my shading to a minimum coming up to the outside of her hair here. But what I think I might need to do is go and check the rules for this challenge, because usually you're allowed to use tones and shades of the same colour. As I did mention, you're allowed to use tones and shades of each colour in a given colour palette, so I'm not entirely sure whether I would be allowed to come in with a darker gold colour just to go for those really dark shadows here, because I do have one in mind from Castle Art Gold that I think would work really well as a kind of tone or shade of this colour. To give us a little bit of darker shadows. I think just laying off on the pressure and easing off towards the edges of her hair here, that's giving us some quite nice light areas. But I think I do need an extra shade of this maybe to come in with a little bit of darkness there. So I'm just going to go and check the rules of this challenge and see if I can figure out whether I would be allowed, if I'm just using 2 of these colours, whether I would be allowed to come in with a darker shade just for the shadows. So I will be right back. Okay guys, you'll probably see a little bit of a difference there. I have been away and read the rules of the challenge, and it seems that you can pick 2 colours from the colour palette. And I did show you the colours that I picked, the Prismacolor colours. Those are the ones from the colour palette. And you can use shades and tones of each colour. It specifically says that you can use its shades and tones. So yeah, that's great. And what I've decided to do, as I'm not entirely sure what would be another shade of gold, I've picked up a few pencils that I usually use to shade when I do colour gold. So essentially I'm using the colour gold and I'll be using the colour red. It's still a 2 colour challenge. So what I've done is I've picked up a couple of the colours I usually use to shade the gold when I use my Castle Art gold colour combination, which is my favourite one to be using. I do have a very tiny earth green there that I've been using. That is not that different to the actual kind of goldy bronze colour we were using with the Prismacolor, but I've brought that in anyways. For highlights, I've picked up the Prismacolor cream because I'm trying to stay away from the white. I want everything to be all kind of old, ancient artifact kind of looking, like I said at the beginning. So I'm bringing in cream for a little bit of highlights onto this brown paper. Again, not entirely sure whether the brown paper is bending the rules of the challenge very, very slightly, but even if it is, this is my little challenge. I am using 2 colours and I think it's going to work really well. And this colour here is the slate grey. That's also Castle Art gold, 200 GP, that one. The earth green, it's kind of hard to read the number there. I think that's 231. So yeah, those are the colours I'm going to be using to be shading this bronze colour. And that is going to be for most of the image. It's going to be this bronze colour. And the red I want to keep to the flowers mainly, and see how we go with there. It might be stretching a little bit to be colouring this mask with the cream, I don't know, but we'll see when we get there whether I'm just adapting this challenge and making it my own just for this video to have a little bit of fun colouring this picture, because I really do love this picture. I really want to try and colour it again as well with the white mask and see what we can get to happen there. But for this challenge, yeah, we're keeping to the 2 colours, trying to give that theme or feel of a kind of ancient Mayan or Aztec statue here. So yeah, I think this is going to work quite well for her hair. I've just gone over in these darkest shadows here with this slate grey, just to give a little bit of extra power to these shadows here. Yeah, I make her hair more along the style of hair that I usually colour. So even if the challenge is not exactly what was set down there, I'm happy colouring, and that's the main point. Make yourself happy, and I've done the face full of makeup. In any case, we do have a lady with a face full of makeup, so even if I haven't completely fulfilled the hardest level of the challenge, we've done something that fits. And what I was doing once I'd gone over with this darker grey, the slate grey, which is more of a browny grey from the Castle Art gold there, once I'm going over most of my shadow areas with that slate grey, hopefully that is showing up. I'm not going into the black and bringing that in. I do want to keep to these more vintagey, old looking colours. I was going over that a little bit with this green gold, or earth green rather. This one is earth green. I'm not using the green gold, just to blend that in to the gold of the Prismacolor that we were using and make it look more like a shade of gold, which seems to have been working. And as we do have these extra colours here, I can probably go into my normal style of colouring here now, starting with this darkest slate grey and bringing out those strand lines, as we do have some drawn for us here with Rina Art's picture. There we go, some of the slate grey kind of strand lines there, coming in with this bronze. Maybe if we just go straight over the top of the slate grey with the bronze, that would, yeah, that would tone it down and just give us a little bit of extra shadow, which is what I was aiming for. And this area is quite far in the shadow there, so we're going to use the colour of the paper as our highlight, which again would work a lot better if that was the white paper, but I seem to have made life doubly difficult for myself today. Oh well, it adds to the challenge, I suppose. Yeah, so that seems to be working for the hair, so that is how we are going to be colouring the hair today. The roses definitely will be the red. I'm not entirely decided whether to bring that in for the rest of the actual colouring here. So maybe what we'll do, we'll bring in a few shadows here behind her earring to start with. I did go quite heavy with the Prismacolor here though, so not sure how much of a shadow we'll be able to get there. We want to keep it quite dark. And we want to go quite dark behind these roses as well. So we are allowed to use shades and tones. I'll see if I've got a darker red maybe, or a lighter red. We'll have to see first how well that red does work on this paper. Okay, let's see. Can we make this earring stand out? It would make sense to use cream. Bring the cream in. But as we have got a little bit of shadow going on there, we can use this bronze. And just a cream for highlights around the edge. Yes, you can see this is going to work now. I was dubious at first because I make this work with just 2 pencils, especially seeing as they weren't showing up really, really well on this paper. But I did want to use the paper for that kind of old kind of artifact look that I was going for. I'm going to keep that really dark behind the roses. I do have a lot of shading behind there in any case to start us off, so yeah, that's going to work really well, I think. This is a method I have actually used for colouring before, keeping the main part of the picture being done in one colour. Mainly I do that with drawing pencils, just graphite drawing pencils, so the main part of the picture is the grayscale with different shades of the grayscale. And then I bring in a little pop of colour with some other part of the image. I have done that a few times. It's a really good technique to use with rainbow colours as well, to have the picture done in grayscale and then the rainbow colours making up the rest of the image as a pop of colour. But in this case we're using the gold as if we were using the drawing pencils, the main drawing pencils. And because we are sticking to the one colour, we are mainly using gold here with just shades of gold, darker and lighter shades of gold. I am counting cream as a lighter shade of gold. That is the same kind of technique or idea that I use. And as we are only using the one colour, I think that was the point I was trying to make. You would be concentrating on doing light and shadow rather than making each area a separate colour. To make areas look separate, especially we can see with this earring here, to make areas look separate from each other, we make sure the difference in the darkness and lightness of the colour is really strong, or as strong as we can get it, to make those areas show up from each other. And we'll bring in our highlights around this side as I seem to be doing, and we'll move on to her skin there and use the lighter colour to give a highlight. We will need a shadow under her chin that will be blending into her hair slightly, but to give her skin of her neck there a different colour to her hair, we will bring in the highlight there and make sure the shadows behind there are really dark. So you can see that, yeah, you concentrate on the light and the dark rather than having to choose colours, and that's why it's a method that I do like to work with quite a lot, because it takes a lot of choosing and having to worry about colour choices out of things if you're just using the one colour and all you're really worrying about is the light and the shadow to make things stand out from each other. And it is a lot like how you do use drawing pencils, because that's all about the light and the shadow and getting different textures and stuff going on, as we are using the strand line kind of effect here for the hair. We're using the long lines to give the effect of lots of different hairs making up these locks of hair here. You can even bring in, as I have done in the past, as long as you're keeping to the colours of the challenge, I've brought in crystals and washi tape and stuff like that. Anything that does fit in, with the colours of the challenge. As long as the challenge doesn't specifically say all you can use is these 2 pencils, then yeah, that would be cheating slightly. But if the challenge is just to use the different colours, and you can use any kind of medium or anything along those lines. I could even bring in my crystals as long as I kept to these 2 colours. Oh, yeah, I didn't think of that actually. Yeah, I could bring in my crystals because I do have gold ones that I could dot around. I do have little red ones. So, yeah, that makes this a lot more fun already. The ideas are popping off. And yeah, the Prismacolor pencil there is slightly losing the edge of its tip there, but I think her hair is coming along quite nicely. And the idea of colouring all that hair around this area is because I wanted to go in and see what kind of colour this red is, because I haven't actually tested it out on this paper. I want to see if we can actually blend out the colour for those roses and get something nice going on. And this pencil did actually snap before I started, so the point is a little bit wonky there, but we'll see what we can get going on. See what colour this red is, how well that shows up. And that's a lovely wine red. But all the grayscale is actually down there for us. I might actually bring in a lighter red rather than a darker red, I think. Something that's along the same lines. As we can use shades and tones. We can use a little bit of white, I think, but I'm tempted to try and not to be honest. To keep this a true 2-colour challenge. I'll see what I do have in the Prismacolor. It's kind of the same sort of red as this, maybe slightly lighter to come in for those edges. This is the darkest red I do have, so if I went for a darker red, that would be from different pencils. But this red, I probably want to stand out quite a lot, so the leaves will probably be the gold kind of effect that we've got going on for the rest of the picture here. Yeah, that's looking pretty good, but we do need lighter around the edges. I wonder, let's see what we've got in the Prismacolors. This carmine red might work. So that's the carmine red. Let's see if we can blend that into this Tuscan red. I don't think the tone is too different. I think those look like they could be the same kind of red. We may be very, very cheeky and bring in the white gel pen there. I think we're not really getting as much highlight as I would like. Maybe the cream. Yeah, maybe we can bring in the cream very, very slightly there. If we can use the shades and tones. That's probably not too cheaty. But by the time this video comes out, I probably will have popped this picture up on the actual Facebook group, so I will know whether I'm being too cheaty or not. And I'm not entirely sure. I do have a red that's darker than this, maybe a maroon or something. But that would be from Arteza. I've had a look at my Arteza pencils, and the darker burgundy colour seems to be more along the purple lines, which I don't think would really fit in with this red. And the garnet red is pretty much the same colour as the Prismacolor we're already using, so we are a little bit stuck on our shades here. But I may be extra cheeky and bring in the cream here, as we are allowed to use shades and tones of the gold. But whether that is just for the gold areas, I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to try and bring in the cream for the edges of this rose anyways. And take it as guidelines rather than rules. There we go. That's what we need with the the cream blending into the edges, I think. I think that's needed, yeah. That is needed to give us a little bit of dimension there. We do need at least 3 shades, I think, of any colour when we are colouring. I may need to erase here and bring in that cream a little more. Or maybe just darken. Make sure these areas are extra dark behind here. Because this side would be where our light is coming from, we did decide, I think, so we might be able to get away with that as is. So yeah, for the roses, we're using the Tuscan red. We're using this one, which is Carmine Red, PC926. And then bringing in a bit of a cream, which is already part of our colour palette for doing the gold. I'm bringing in that cream for the edges of the roses, just to give us that third colour, blend out the Carmine Red into a pinkish sort of tone with the cream there. So we are using technically tones of the same colour, even though they're not purely pencil, a pencil that's that colour, if that makes sense. I'll try and make this one in the background slightly darker so that that petal there doesn't look too odd. We're not being shaded as well. This will probably be one that I do end up finishing off camera because yeah, we don't really have many hours of daylight in the UK at this time, and it is working. It is going fairly fast, I will say. Just be using the 2 colours. It cuts out a lot of time at choosing what colour that you are going to use. And with it being a grayscale image as well, most of the shading is already worked out, so that's really quick and easy. Not super grayscaled, but yeah, we do have our grayscale going on here. This petal won't be super highlighted, I don't think. Neither will that one. Neither will that, so we'll blend out that. Yeah. The highlights we do want to keep closer to this side of the page, as that's where our light is coming from. We'll try and make this cream into a kind of pinkish tone along these edges, so that we are using tones of the same colour, which I think I might be able to get away with, but if not, I'm not really that fussed, to be honest, because I'm having fun with the colouring. And if the point is to use 2 colours, I'm using red, I'm using gold, that's 2 colours, right? There we go, that's not looking too bad, I don't think. A bit of a flower. The colours are not as bright as they would actually be on the white paper, but again, that is the effect I am going for, that kind of faded look, so it's working pretty well as far as I can tell. And yeah, that would be how the flowers go. And I think the leaves here, we'd be going back to our gold for the leaves. I'll try and get at least most of the main areas of the picture done, so you can see how I would be actually coping with those. These leaves here, I would bring in that highlight quite a lot because those will be back to the gold up there. And some... Is that a leaf or is that a petal? It could even be a petal up there, so okay, I'll bring in the red. It's in shadow, whatever it is. There we go. It's all good. It can be whatever you want it to be, right? Okay, as I was saying, yeah, I'll try and colour as many of the main areas of this picture as I can, so you can see how I would be coping with each different area. As I just sharpen the bronze here, and maybe finish it off camera. I'm not entirely sure. So we've done hair, we've done the rose. Let's move on and see if we can do her face. And as usual, I'm doing this in completely the wrong order. If you're right-handed, it's best to start in the top left and work your way kind of this way down to avoid smudging anything that you have already done. But I like to just jump in and start whenever I want to. I like to create problems for myself, apparently. So yeah, I do want to keep her face to be one of the lightest areas, as she has got this full face of the Day of the Dead makeup. So we're going to give a little bit of a highlight down this side. Go right to the edge. Usually I leave a little bit of a gap for white gel pen. We're going right to the edge here on her face. Usually I leave a bit of a gap for white gel pen. But this is the lightest colour that we do have, this cream here. So I'm going right to the edge. We'll keep a bit of a highlight along the bottom of her chin. Okay, there we go. We'll do a highlight along this edge of her face as well, just to make it easy for the hair to stand out. To put shadow behind here, and if we've got white along the edge of her face, that will make the areas look really separate. So, well, not white, cream. I did say I'm not bringing in white. I'm not bringing in white. That is. Here's the cream. I'm going to make sure that we have any edges with the cream as a highlight, and we're going to try and blend that out into a gold colour. There would be a highlight down her nose there, I'm thinking. Sort of like that. Okay, and we'll blend that out into the bronze, which is the lightest kind of gold shade we have here. And that's it. We want to keep her face to be a very light shade, if any shade at all. Yeah, and even though her face is painted as a Day of the Dead kind of candy skull there, we will have some shading around her nose. Into the eye sockets here, we'll probably be coming in with our darkest colour, because I think the eye sockets are generally painted as black, but we can't go with the black, so we're going with the darkest shades of our bronze colours here, making sure we still keep a little bit of shape to our eyelid there. And bring in this cream for the kind of white of her eye there to make that stand out. Pop in a few highlights. I did go a little bit quiet while colouring that eye. I was really getting into that, enjoying that. So we'll try and bring in a little bit of highlight, because there would be a highlight along the brow ridge there, along the top of her cheekbones, anywhere if you do wear makeup, which I don't really, but anywhere you do wear makeup, like where you put your highlighter, that is where the highlights would be on the face. And we want to keep this very dark, because we do have the makeup, the dark makeup covering that area, possibly even over her eyebrows, all that kind of stuff. So we will just have the kind of eye holes for this skull there. That is how we would be doing the eyes, and we would have a dark shadow. Well, I've got this slate grey. We'd have a bit of a dark shadow coming under her chin, with maybe a little bit of highlight down that side. Yeah, again, to separate the areas, we'll bring in the cream for a little bit of highlight. But we would have a dark shadow under her chin. And this would transition into a normal skin tone colour, I'm thinking, down on her neck. I'm not entirely sure what happens with Day of the Dead makeup. Does it stay on the face? Do we put the white down the neck? I'm not entirely sure. Considering how much I do like Day of the Dead, yeah, that's something I've never really thought about. But I want to try and make the skin of her neck a little bit darker than her face, at least, because her face is technically supposed to be the white. We have got the light coming from that side, so this side of her neck would be darker. Maybe we can bring in this Earth Queen. Is it Earth Queen, this one? Yes, it is. It's Earth Queen. This is very slightly darker than the bronze colour. We want some shadows down this side of her neck. There we go, a little bit more shape to her neck there we've got going on. I'm not entirely sure whether to bring in the red for this design around her face here. I'm really not sure. Or whether I should just stick with the bronze maybe. Keep it a flat colour so we do look as if we're painted here. I think maybe we can work with that somehow. And then maybe the red can come in. Gold statues can be enamelled, can't they? I'm guessing, I'm not a jeweler or anything, but yeah, statues could have enamel. Shall we see what that red would look like? Where's the red? Here we go. I'll bring the dark red a little bit towards your eye there. Lighter red around the outside, maybe. I'm not entirely sure that we've got that working. I tried bringing in the cream, that little zigzag pattern around the outside. I'm not entirely sure that's working. It's not terrible. We do want our eyes to be the main kind of focus point in this area anyway, so we don't want this colour to be too distracting, I guess. I'll go ahead and finish off the rest of this makeup around her eye here. Okay, I've gone ahead and finished off all that makeup around her eye there. Still not entirely sure that that is working. I'm sure it will all look fine once we finish the whole picture. I'm thinking these leaves on her chin here, we could make those into the red as well. Maybe outline them with this grey colour. Slate grey, I think this one is called. It's a very, very dark kind of desaturated brown. We'll do those in the dark brown. We're going to have our darkest gold colours for this makeup for her nose here as well. That would be black, I think, in real life. So we're going to try and make that one as dark as we can. Although we do have some lighter bits of shading where we'll bring in that bronze colour. There we go. Okay, sorry, I had to stop and answer a phone call. I can't quite remember where I was. I think I was colouring in the middle of her mouth here with this dark colour, just to keep all the dark shady areas, mainly the same kind of colour of the grey or dark gold. I'm calling it for the purpose of this challenge, a dark gold. Yeah, just to make sure all the shaded areas are kind of that sort of colour. We do have a hint of her lips coming through here, so we might emphasise that a little bit with this bronze colour. I don't know if that would work super well, but we'll give it a little bit of a go. Yeah, that's working pretty well, I think. So what should we move on to do now? So now that we do have some of her makeup on this face done with the red, we may as well go ahead and go full on with the red for this makeup. I think I'm going to try and concentrate on doing maybe half of the image, showing you each area in half of the image, because they are pretty much symmetrical here. We're the same on both sides. So if I show you every area that I'm going to colour on this side of the page, then I can go ahead off camera and finish off the rest of it, and then maybe put up a scan or a photo of the image for the end of the video if I do get it finished. What I do like to do when I'm colouring Day of the Dead makeup is to bring in stick-on crystals, and I'm thinking that if they are the same kind of colour, then maybe I can get away with that. And if it's not fitting in entirely with the challenge, as I said, then yeah, at least it's still a fun colouring. I have done the face of makeup, which is the main point of the challenge if we don't want to go into the the levels of difficulty. So this is the original colour scheme colour, this red here, Tuscan red, I think, on the Prismacolor. I do love this image. I do like Rina Art. Rina Art is art. Yeah, I do like Rina Art as an artist, and I did buy this one for Halloween, for the Halloween kind of season. Last year now, yeah, last October, November. But I never got around to actually colouring it in. On my spooky season little theme I had going on. I'm trying to stick as much as I can to this red, this Tuscan red that was the colour in the actual colour scheme, and just bringing in the others for a little bit of shading and highlights. So to that end, I don't want to go super crazy with the highlights on this face, even though it is the white makeup. The white Day of the Dead makeup. I don't want to go super crazy with the highlights because the main colour is this bronze colour I do want to be using the most of. So maybe do a little bit of shading on this face to give a little bit of a shape to her face. The light is coming this way, so we'll give her a little bit of a chin. Not super obvious, but that kind of round shape that we do have to show the chin is three-dimensional there. Now concentrating on this side of the face before I get carried away of colouring everything else. Just want to make her face look as if it does have a little bit of shape to it, and we'll bring in the cream for our highlights again. But we don't want to go super crazy bringing in the cream because that's not the colour that's actually in the colour scheme. This is just a colour to highlight our golden brown colour. Let's try doing these lines with the red. This is the Tuscan red, the one that's actually part of the colour scheme. Nice, yeah, I'm fairly happy with how that's looking so far for the face. So we've done half of the face there. I've just missed out this little spot there that I could put on a stick-on crystal. There we go. That's looking pretty good for the half of the face there, I think. So we've done roses, we've done hair, we've done the face. I think now I'll try and see what we can get on going on down here with this jewellery. First of all, I'll make sure that this area of skin underneath here, that's going to be fairly dark. It is shaded in the grayscale. It is shaded fairly dark, so go over that with the bronze colour. This is going to be yeah, a bit of a labour. This is doing all the jewellery there, so I'll definitely go ahead and do that off camera. I am thinking for most of that. I might bring in the red for some of these beads, but I'll show you a little kind of snippet of that before I actually go away and finish this all off camera. Okay, so we do have lots of gold beads here. I might, let me see, might bring in some red for this kind of medallion in the middle. Maybe these bits here could be red with the rest being gold. That might make a bit of sense. So as I usually do gold, I start with the darkest colour. In this case it is this slate grey, so I'm bringing in the main areas of the shadow with this slate grey. Sure we do have that kind of round carving there that I'm thinking of doing the red. Making sure my shadows fall on the left because my light is coming from the right, so any shadows will be falling on the left. There we go. I'm going to be doing these areas in the red. I'll just pop those in just so I know that those are red. I don't go ahead and colour them brown because I've been known to do that in the past. Completely forget what colour I am meant to be doing an area and then have to improvise and work with what I've done. So yeah, those areas in there are the red. There we go. And the main colour we want to be using here is the bronze. Although as this is gold, we will be coming in with quite a few highlights here, possibly, especially along these edges, to show that her skin is actually different from the jewellery. So I will go in with the dark brown there actually, make sure we have contrast going on, because that's what we're aiming for. With only using two colours, we are sticking mainly to contrast rather than at different shades of of each colour. As we are only using two colours, I think, as I explained, we're concentrating on areas of light and shadow. So yeah, we will have highlights for the gold. It is so tempting to come in with the white gel pen there. This is the Earth Green, I think is this one called. Earth Green, yeah, which is a very slightly darker shade of that bronze colour. And making sure we have some really dark shadows, because the main way to get something to look as if it's shiny, as if it's metal, is to have good contrast between your very dark darks and your very light lights. And as I'm not bringing in the whites, or I'm trying not to here, I'm trying to make this dark as much as possible. Yeah, I think that might work for her jewellery there. For the middle bit, we're just gonna shade that as if it is layers of gold. So, and this jewellery did really remind me of kind of a Mayan or Aztec sort of jewellery, but I'm no expert. It could be completely different than this, but this is what it looked like to me, at least. So I went with that kind of heavy gold sort of feel that they like to go for, the ancient Mayans or Aztecs. I think it was mainly this square bit in the middle reminded me of the kind of pictograms that they have going on in the pyramids and stuff. So yeah, that's what I was going for. Again, we're highlighting with the cream. Quite strong highlights, quite dark darks. And we're working quite well. Maybe we could bring in the red for this bit here. Or should we bring the red in just in the middle? Maybe we should bring the red in just in the middle, because we only have it in the middle there, don't we? So it might be a bit odd doing that whole thing with the red. So I'll fill in the red in the middle here, and then just make this around the outside here. Hopefully I'm still on camera. We'll just make this around the outside there, just different sections of the gold like we have going on here. That would make a bit more sense. As I did with the hair, going in first with the darkest colour for the shadows. And going over this line art here to make sure all these sections look as if they are kind of sections. Yeah, they are all separate. That's the word I was looking for. We're going to have more highlights on this side here, as that's where I've decided my light is coming from. Bringing in the cream for a few highlights along this side of this medallion. This is pretty much how I wanted it to look, with the lady being carved out of gold. That was the idea I was mainly going for, and I think it's sort of working. With the rest of this jewellery being done in the gold. Some of these beads here I might put in as the gold. Some might be red. I was toying with the idea of having this whole necklace here be the red. Not entirely sure that would be too much red, because red is supposed to be the accent colour here, with most of it mainly being this gold. So we'll see how well we get along with that, I think. I might just dot a few beads in. Might do the whole kind of necklace on the end there in the gold. Add in a few little highlights here for these beads. Might turn out to be a little bit quicker to do than I imagined, as we're not being too detailed and going over every single bead, every single little square individually. We're just adding in a few little highlights there. That's worked quite well. And if I was to do this bead in red, I would be shading the outside around the curve like that with the darker red, bringing in this lighter red for the top towards where the highlight would be, and I think I would have to cheat and bring in the cream for the highlight, actually where the light would be hitting it. but that is not shining as much as the gold. That's probably what we'd have to play to, have those beads not be as bright as the gold, because we don't have as much of a highlight colour going on. Unless we actually did that first, maybe. Or maybe just this one on the other side, just to test. Do a little bit of a highlight with the cream first, then the red, and the carmine red. Make sure we have some shadow around it. Pretty much the same kind of effect, I think. So either way with those, we have those beads being red. Maybe those two red, and then this whole string, maybe. Cheat alert. A little bit of white gel pen. So I think what I've decided to do is do this whole necklace in the red, this big necklace here. Maybe pick out one or two of these beads. These beads are kind of randomly placed, so pick out one or two of those beads to be done in the red as well. And then keep the main part of this necklace in the kind of bronzy gold colour. So how I'm doing those, I'm going to try and use the method I used there, which was to go in first with a cream highlight on this side where the light is actually coming from. Go in with the darkest red. This is a Tuscan red, I think, to give an area of shadow there. And then maybe a little bit of this carmine red. I keep forgetting what this one is called. A little bit of the carmine red. Yeah, I think that method is working slightly better. Going in first with the cream rather than trying to highlight on top of the red. Yep, hopefully that will work, having that whole necklace as being red. I'm committed now. So that is how I will be colouring every area of this picture, I think. We've done her hair, the roses, kind of half of her face, because we do have a symmetrical picture here. So it will be coloured pretty much the same on both sides, except this part of the picture will be having more shadow going on because our light is coming from the right here. The only thing I haven't really touched on, I think, is these kind of rose hips here. And those would be with the brown colours, coloured the same kind of way as I was doing the beads there. Maybe bringing in the cream highlight first, then the darker colours, and then coming in with the lighter colours just to fill out the rest of the kind of round berries here. So that was the cream and the slate green. This is coming in with the bronze colour. Just the same colours as the rest of the picture, but coloured in the same kind of method as I would do those kind of round spheres for these beads here. And yeah, I might at the end come in and stick on a few little stick-on crystals here. I think I might be able to get away with that. I do have gold ones, I have red ones, and that's keeping with the colour scheme. It's still going to be a 2-colour challenge picture. Just using a couple of shades of each colour to keep it in with that challenge. And I think what I'm going to do is carry on and finish that off camera, as I have showed you pretty much every area there. So I'll meet up with you again once the picture is finished, and we'll see how this challenge has turned out. Okay, so here we are a few days later. This is our finished image and I am super happy with how she's turned out. I just carried on and coloured the rest of the image using exactly the same colours, kind of techniques that I did show you. I think I coloured this half of the picture on camera, but this was a few days ago now. I did actually cheat and come in with the white gel pen to pick out a few little highlights and edges there, but it was acceptable for the challenge. I did put this up on the Facebook group. It was acceptable for the challenge, so that's all cool. We did stick to the 2 colours well enough to be accepted, and also I did bring in these little stick-on crystals. As you can see there, those were in the same colours for the challenge, the red and the gold, so those worked in really well. I'll try and bring her up for a little bit of a close-up, but yeah, I don't really want to go super out of focus or have her glaring in the lamps, but I will bring her up for a little bit of detail there. I did use the cream to highlight the edges of her face and try and make that look as if she was wearing that Day of the Dead makeup that we were going for there. And I decided in the end, I think I did say that I was going to pop in a few more little gold gems in this kind of massive gold necklace she's wearing here. But in the end, I decided just to stick to having the red beads around the edge there, with just the two that I coloured on camera being the red. I did add in a few little stick-on crystals into the gold necklaces there, just for a little bit of variety, so that this bit down the middle here didn't look super boring. And yeah, as I said, I am really pleased with how it's turned out. I did actually add a little bit of detail here on the edges of the roses, if I can bring that up a little bit again. On the edges of the rose petals, I did come in with a few little darker red lines just to make the rose petals look a little bit more natural. I do like to put in those little kind of marks when I colour flowers to make the petals look a little bit more natural, kind of realistic. Even though she isn't a totally realistic image, I did want to bring that into the roses, as those are the kind of the focal point of the image, with her eyes and the roses there being in the same kind of area. And yeah, as I said, really happy with how that's turned out. So I did try and bring in a few little tips that I do try and use when using very, very limited palettes, either a one colour or a two colour challenge, and to try and sum that up, if I can remember what I was actually telling you guys. I think I was saying that it's mainly about the dark and the light. If you're using very, very limited colours, as in this picture here, rather than having to choose different colours for different parts of the image to make everything stand out from each other, you really have to concentrate on going dark and light to make areas stand out for each other. And I think that was most obvious when we zoomed in on her earring here. We do have the very dark shadows around the outside, but her earring is really light, and that's how you differentiate between the areas when you are only using one colour, or two in this case. You can get quite a few different tones of colour just using the one pencil, and I think I did mention that if I want to use just one colour for a picture, I do tend to use or choose a darker colour pencil, because you can get more of a range of tones. If you do pick a lighter pencil, even when you press pretty hard with that pencil, you don't really get a very dark colour. But if you do have a darker pencil, you can press pretty hard and get a really dark intense colour, and then you can ease off your pressure to get really, really light pencil strokes or areas of colour that you can use to get a lot broader range of tones. Also, when you are only using one colour, I think it's quite important to get different areas of texture coming through to make it look as if your surfaces are different from each other. And I think in this image I can show that by having maybe these strand lines coming through to show the hair. That's all made up of individual hairs, making up those locks of hair there, giving it a little bit of a texture. And the gold, really smooth, really shiny, so making sure the highlights are a lot brighter. The darks are a lot darker to give this smooth texture, kind of versus the rougher texture of the hair there. Also, there's the petals of the roses, which I have tried to make pretty smooth, a lot more blended there, kind of velvety looking roses, nice and soft. So yeah, bringing in the texture is something you can do when you are very, very limited on your colours. Also, that you don't have to stick to just pencils. In this one, I did bring in the little crystals as well for a little bit of variety there. But if the only stipulations you have in your challenge is that you have to use the two colours, then you can bring in any kind of media, any techniques, any kind of collage, any embellishments that is in those two colours, and bring that into your picture to give a little bit of variety, a little bit of difference there. And yeah, it's quite an interesting challenge to do, I think, myself personally, because it does limit your choice of colours, so you don't have to choose what colour anything can be. You can just get into practicing your blending and shading, maybe making a difference between the light and the shadow in your picture. But anyways, all that being said, hopefully this was a little bit of an entertaining video for you guys today. A few tips and tricks for colouring in a very, very limited palette. If you did enjoy the video, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Take care, and I'll see you in future videos. Bye.